Another unboxing today. This time it's going to be a Spyderco Firefly. So, showing all sides of the packaging for people who are interested in seeing if they have a clone. This is from a reputable dealer, so it is a legitimate unit. Inside the carton you get the knife itself, which is fairly important. You get literature and the little foam block. Feel free to pause so you can read this once I have it in focus. Standard Spyderco packaging. Comes lightly oiled from the factory. And it's a nice little knife. So again, this is first impressions. The fit and finish on this guy, from the very little time I've had it, it is tremendous. The handles are a polished G10, and it's a solid carbon fiber bolster. Solid carbon fiber is, the whole thing is carbon fiber. Spyderco likes to do a G10 with a carbon fiber peel ply or some sort of lamination on top. This is a solid carbon fiber bolster, and then a solid G10, and there is no transition at all. When I rub my finger, I don't feel anything, either with the steel liner or the G10. Like, there's that little T where they all meet. I don't feel anything on this unit. So, showing all angles slowly. It's a Peter Carey design in VG10 steel from Seiki City, Japan. It's a liner lock, and it has two ways of doing this. It's either going to be straight across, or this one has a little bit of a taper for the lock interface. It's steel on steel, very light press to get it to disengage the lock. It looks like they have a small relief cut. If you compare the two liners, this guy goes in a little bit and comes out, so they cut it so it's a little bit easier to operate. You can also see that the liners have been skeletalized somewhat. It's more pronounced on the rear. Let's see if I can get it in there. And see all the milling that's been done to reduce weight and adjust balancing on this guy. So the main thing I see on this knife is that the handle to blade ratio, this guy comes right to the tip. But it's also swooped in or cut down enough that I can't get my finger in there to cut. And I am trying. It's not getting in there deep enough to do any damage. It might be a different story with some sort of cloth getting in. It's a flow-through design on steel posts. So there's 3-post design. And then there's the pivot. Looking through, looks like Teflon washers. I don't have a problem with that. Teflon's good to go. For the price of this knife, some might argue that phosphate bronze would have been a more apt choice. I just really love the way that carbon fiber, polished carbon fiber bolster picks up light, dances on there. So comparisons. I think the most apt comparison would probably be Spyderco Delica. Maybe a Pingo. what we can go after. So the handle to blade ratio of this guy. So what I mean by that is when you line them up edge to edge, how much extra blade do you get? The Delica, you're just getting marginally more blade out of that guy compared to the Firefly. It goes all the way, and the reason for that is the Delica, it's a fantastic design, but there's a ton of empty room on the tip of the Delica, and the intent there is to give you a better grip, full 4-finger grip in multiple positions. So that's why there's a little bit of extra space on that guy, whereas on the Firefly it's 3.5, kind of 4-finger grip. The pocket clip is noticeable. It doesn't really dig in much. If I'm using the thumb ramp, it's not jimped. It is very nicely polished though. And if I'm using a knife for a long period of time, I prefer a polished ramp over a jimped ramp. A jimped ramp is nice for a very quick purchase, firm lock, but if I'm going to be using it for any period of time, I personally prefer to have a smooth thumb ramp, like on this guy. Comparing it to the Spyderco, this is very comparable in terms of blade to, they're about the same blade length and same handle length. The main difference is that this comes to a nice distal taper, just like the Delica and a lot of other Spyderco designs. This is a fantastic slicing knife, and you get that because it just everything tapers down to a very fine point and edge. Whereas on the Firefly, that is a substantially beefier blade on this knife. And then a grind on this guy, it's just, there's so much material. Also, it comes down to a taper on the point, but it's just this nice, I don't even know how to describe it. Is it a hollow grind, beveled? It's just, it's ground up in so many nice ways. It's almost like a modified sheepfoot. It's fantastic design. Comparing that to a Manix 2 for the blade stock is very comparable. My camera is currently sitting on my caliper, so I can't give you an actual read on this, but you're probably just a couple thous thicker on the Manix compared to the Firefly. So this looks like it's going to be a very durable knife. Other knife to compare it with is the Pingo. So if you have a Pingo, it's completely different in the hand, but the blade to handle ratio is much more in favor for the Dragonfly. Other things I'm noticing that I like on the Firefly is the polished G10 that Spyderco does is fantastic. So there's not much contouring on this. It just kind of, I guess, looks like the Firefly's, not thorax, the arse of the Firefly insect. And I like that. It's a really cool idea. Comparing it to the Spyderco Hungarian, this has a bit of contouring going in the blade. So when they polished out the G10, you get this faux wood grain going on there. This guy, you don't get it as much, but you do get a little bit of that hint of the different layers of G10 being polished away, and it looks a little bit wood-like, or maybe like the rump of a Firefly. So again, the only thing that I see that bothers me on this knife is the mix-match hardware. The pocket can be tip down or tip up carry. The pocket clip can be moved up or down. The thing is that you get small torques, small torques, small torques, big torques, and then Phillips. The mix-match hardware, this is the way it's supposed to be. I checked to make sure this isn't a clone. That's the way it's supposed to be, and it baffles me a little bit. But other than that, it's a fantastic little knife. In the pocket, I have a pair of Levi's. And Spyderco clips are typically pretty stiff, so yeah, alright. There's a bit of an effort to get it in there, so it won't go anywhere when you get it in, but you just get a nice little protrusion there. Very unassuming for people that are not knife friendly. On the inside, you lose almost no real estate in the pocket. Like, it's such a small profile carrying in the pocket. If you prefer carrying it on the front side, this is what it would look like. And I do believe the Firefly is petite enough that it would carry even in the small hip pocket of a Levi's jean. Very firm clip. It will not go unless you want it to go somewhere. So that's a very small carrying knife. So, no long-term or usage impressions yet on this guy. It is a gorgeous knife, and the fit and finish is just spot on. People that follow Spyderco feel that Tai Chung, this is an example of a Tai Chung knife, makes the best fit and finish for Spyderco knives. And I have to say, this Firefly, at least this specimen of this Spyderco Firefly, it's quite up there. The polish work, the fit and finish, everything mating, there's nowhere for my thumb to snag. The spider hole, it's not as chamfered or milled out, but it is polished. It is nice and smooth on my thumb. I don't feel any sharp spots running my hand over. This has been dehorned quite nicely. It's just a very nice fit and finish knife on this guy. I like him quite a bit, and I'm looking forward to using it more heavily. Thanks. Bye.